Hello, my friend, and welcome to Secure Insecure, hosted by me, Johnny Seifert. This is a celebrity mental health podcast where I say it's okay to not be okay. And if you have the same answer as me, whether you're watching or listening, click that follow button, click the 5-star rating, and let's keep spreading the word it's okay to not be okay. And don't forget, you can find me on social media on Instagram at Johnny Seifert at Secure Insecure Podcast and over on TikTok at Johnny Seifert92. But let's talk about today's guest. Now, as Love Island 2025 came to a close, it's really important that we don't think about the journey, but what happens afterwards, because we know the islanders who've been in there at the moment are thinking about their brands and they're thinking about who are they when they come out and everyone's going to know them. But what's the reality? And so for today's episode, I'm taking it back 10 years and I'm talking to an OG Love Islander, someone who I've been looking up to for 10 years and just really love the wholesome way they've navigated their career and how they've put themselves first as a mum, as a businesswoman, as an influencer, but at the heart is love. And I'm so excited to say, joining me on Skin and Skid today, it's Cally Beech. Hello, Cally.
Good, thank you. Very good. Happy to be chatting with you.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. So look, let's go back to the beginning of the life of Cally and we'll lead up to what made you that singer, that songwriter, that influencer that you are today. So look, take me back to Hull in the 90s. You went to Wolverton School. What was
I
that
did.
like for you?
I mean, it was different when I think about it now. And I think about, I have two teenage stepsons now, and, one of them's still in secondary school, and kind of how it was pretty much like any other normal secondary school, really. Probably not like it is now, though. I feel like I have two stepsons, and one of them's still in secondary school. And I think the way he navigates through secondary school is slightly different to how I did back then. I mean, social media wasn't really a thing. I think it was the time we still had like BBM. Do you remember BBM? And like the chats that you say.
27F8911, I think was mine.
Stop. Can't believe you remember that. But yeah, I remember the little flash that used to come up and that's when you got text message. That was like the fun kind of social thing that we had around school. We didn't really have pictures and profiles and that kind of social environment that we have now.
Were you not on MSN
Um,
though?
I think I had an MSN where I talked to my friends, but I don't think it was, again, anything like the social media that we have today, from what I remember. I remember there used to be like a Pixar site. Do you remember Pixar?
It's where you you thought you were a computer designer because with Pixar you would
Yeah.
put your all the text in it,
Yeah,
brackets,
yeah, yeah.
bold, close
Oh, yeah,
brackets,
yeah.
forward
Yeah.
slash.
And you figured it out. I could never do that. I had one friend that was really good at it, and she used to help me do it. And we basically did a joint one together, and it was like a best friend girls site. But other than that, that's where we used to
And did you
put
have the
like
background
our
on it? Because
pictures.
you had to put a special background. It usually be like flashing lights or something. You'd copy all the text from a
Yeah,
random. Yeah,
all
yeah.
the colours. It had music on it. Had these like little doll things that was like little brat versions of us that we used to like dress up. That was kind of as fun as social kind of got back then, and I feel like it didn't really take over our lives. Whereas now, I feel like it's such a big thing, and they all have social platforms, but they also navigate it differently to us as well, where they don't always post their faces, and it's cool not to post too much apparently. So it's strange now, but not really sure.
And who were you in school? If you thought about your school year, how did
Mm.
Callie separate herself from the rest of the year group? What were the qualities that you brought, the good and the bad?
I feel like I was always a pretty friendly person, and I was pretty naive as well, though. So I always thought that everyone's intentions was as genuine as mine. And I feel like I learned that the hard way quite a lot with certain like friendships in school and always doing the most for people. I didn't like to see anyone sad, lonely, bullied. I'm really empathetic. Things like that really affect me. So I feel I kind of led with a genuine heart, I think, through school. And I always had. And it did give me some really lovely, close friends that I'm still friends with now today. It took me the hard route to kind of see that not everybody's like genuine.
And what about boys? What was your popularity like with them?
Pretty popular, I'd say. But I didn't always really stick with them very often because I feel like it was just a bit of a gimmick. Like people just had boyfriends in school for the sake of having a boyfriend. But I didn't actually really like them that much. I just felt like I should go out with them. And my friends would be like, oh, you should go out with him. Or, oh, he's asked you out. And I would, but I don't think I was really that interested, to be honest, or that into anyone. Just kind of for the sake of it to say I had a boyfriend, but I wasn't really bothered.
That's the interesting thing of you seem to have had your head on your shoulders at a really young age, that you kind of knew what you
Mm,
wanted, knew how you wanted to portray yourself. And then, the singing comes into it, the songwriting comes in, which you use for catharsis, which is just another way of journaling. And it seems to be that from a
mm.
mental health perspective, you understood yourself quite early on and how you fitted into the pecking order. Is that fair to say?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, I think so. I knew very much kind of where I wanted to go. I was always very ambitious. I loved singing and dancing. I grew up kind of in that background of, musical theatre and stage school, and that kind of thing made me really happy and I really enjoyed it. And I made a lot of friends there as well. So I think that was kind of my natural direction and expression, I think. But yeah, I would say I pretty much did have my head on my shoulders. I knew kind of where I was going. I don't think I had as much moments of confusion that teenagers like have now. There's a lot of like confusion in direction and like more guidance needed, I feel now. But I think at the time I had quite a solid path of where I wanted to go.
And your path took you to being a dental nurse doing the 9 to 5 day job. And then in the
Yeah.
evenings, you were gigging and writing and singing. So you had that really nice balance of making sure financially you're stable, but also making sure you're mentally stable, but also more importantly than all of that is being socially stable. And so it seemed to be, growing up, you had a bit of everything that you wanted. But then Love
Mm.
Island comes up, and they've brought it back because obviously it had 2 series before, Fern Cotton and Paddy Kilty. They bring it
Mhm.
back as a proper show in 2015. How did you get approached for that, or did you apply for that?
I mean, I did at first, and that's because I'd actually dated Lewis, who was in season one with me, who's Vienna's father. He did tell me that he was going on a dating show, and we'd only been on like 2 dates. So I kind of just said, look, like you go on. I don't know if it's going to be a thing, like enjoy it. And again, at this time, Love Island wasn't a thing, didn't know what it was. It was just a new dating show. And I said, okay, cool. Well, maybe we'll see if anything happens when you come out. If not, then it's not meant to be. And then he was on the show, and I was doing some modeling abroad at the time. And I'd just come back and I was just switching from my dental nursing job that I was doing. I was in an NHS practice and I wanted to go into a private dentistry. And as I was doing that and in between that transition, I randomly got like a phone call when the show had obviously aired and started. And it was ITV. And I thought someone was having me on as a bit of a joke, but no one really knew about him because it wasn't a thing. We'd only been on 2 dates. They said it's ITV, it's Love Island. There's possibly an opportunity for you to come on the show. Would understand that you dated Lewis before the show. Would you be interested in coming on? And at the time, I just thought, you know what, why not? Like I'm in between switching what I was doing with my job. So it was like perfect timing, really. I think it's because you're constantly mic'd when you're on the show. And I think he wasn't really playing ball with the character that he was kind of supposed to be a little bit of a playboy and a mess about. But he'd said to a couple of guys in there that about me and that he liked me. And I think at the time, well, not at the time, but a bit before then, I was Miss Great Britain. So he mentioned that. So I think that's how they found who I was. And then yeah, just kind of got called on the show like that, really. And I just went for it, and then one thing led to another.
10 years later, in 2025, how do you look at that 2015 version of Cally now and the way you portrayed yourself, the way that you'd kind of already mapped out your career, which was going
Mhm.
successfully? And then obviously there's a massive gear change because Love Island just explodes and social media is exploding at the same time as well.
Mm. No one really knew back in 2015 when the first series of Love Island kind of happened that it was going to be as big as what it is now. So I feel like it was from a very genuine perspective for me. I was very much myself in there. Like people still message me now that have gone back and watched series one and said, "Oh, like you're so lovely. I can see how you handled things really nice." So it's nice that I can look back and even though that was a 23-year-old version of myself, know that I still handled it how I'd probably handle it now, but maybe a little bit less naive and a little bit less quiet. Like most of the time, I was walking around with a towel on my head, eating a flapjack or something, and not really doing anything much, just kind of pottering around. But I kind of was stuck with the one person when I was in there. So it's kind of like a an easy sailing ride, really. There's kind of just a lot of drama going on around me, but it wasn't, as competitive or thought through as it is now. Whereas people think a lot about, people playing a game and people just trying to win. And again, back then, like we didn't know that's what it was. It was like the guinea pig series. They did random things. There wasn't like a Casa Amor then. Carl and Best came in and took everybody out and took the boys out on a night out. and brought a couple of girls back. That's how that was. So it's very different from how it is now, but much more genuine, I feel.
Well, yeah, it's interesting. The kind of best scenes where he took the boys out and the girls out, it was like you're
Mm.
watching an episode of The Only Way is Essex at that point. And now it's very much about the brand deals and it's about the influencer life and it's about getting all
Mm,
the Instagram followers and that the thing you think you've gone on TV and you've come out with, 50,000 followers or 2 million followers. And there's that thing of, well, I'm
yeah,
not good enough. And this was supposed to be my new career. And now what? So when you left the
yeah.
villa, mentally, how did you feel navigating the rest of 2015, early 2016 when you've got this profile now? People know who you are.
Mm,
You're in a relationship, but the relationship's effectively really started on TV, and you've got attention on you that wasn't organic through your music that you'd been prepped for, media trained, and had, let's say, the PRs around you and had the A&R guys pushing you with pluggers. It was very much based on journalists, paps, and people dictating a narrative for you rather than you dictating it for them.
yeah. I feel like I was all right with it, I feel like now I really do understand where it's a struggle, but I feel like I was okay with it. Like when we came out, I think I had about 70,000 followers. And that back then was huge, but I didn't really have anything else to compare it with. Whereas obviously now I can understand there's what 10 seasons and some people have gone on at mid seasons and come off with, like you said, like millions, 2 million followers. And then there'll be other ones that come off and don't get anywhere near that. So I can understand like how people get in those points of frustration where they're not really sure where to navigate or how to deal with it on the outside. But for me, I felt like I'm quite a people person. So I was okay with, public attention. And I think it was because the public attention that I was receiving was quite positive. And everybody that, stopped as if I'd gone for like shopping in Oxford Street or something like that, it was genuinely quite positive. And someone saying, "Oh, I really loved you on the show. It was really lovely when you comforted Lauren," or "You're such a girl's girl. I love this about you." So it was generally quite positive to come out to. So I don't really felt like I was impacted negatively at all, really, till obviously the relationship broke down between me and Lewis, and that's where there was a lot of questions. And I just obviously had Vienna at the time, so that was where sometimes public attention is not wanted or welcomed in that kind of situation. But rightfully, when you've been on TV, I feel like some people do feel like they have a right to know what's going on in your life, whether you feel ready to speak about it or not. So they're the points that I can understand where it's hard. But I think initially, first coming off and dealing with the public attention I was okay with it. I didn't, like I said, there wasn't a massive, it was just the start of social media. So there wasn't too much pressure and unrealistic, standards that we're seeing now. And there wasn't, tens of seasons before me where everybody killed it. And I felt like I had something to keep up in a reputation. I had nothing to compare it to. So yeah.
But then when you're talking about comparisons, you've got two
Mm,
lines here. You've got the one that you've got your 70,000 followers, you can start building on that and being an
hmm
influencer. And the influencer, be it the modeling side or doing more reality shows or going and doing a load of PAs, personal appearances around the country, going on
hmm
loads of brand trips. The other side is you found a guy in there that you've fallen in love with at the time. You've then decided, in your mid 20s, I'm ready to become a mum to Vienna, and you have a child, and then you're navigating motherhood, and you've got this motherhood side, and you've got an influencer side, and like now, obviously, 10 years later, they do go together. But back then, did you feel that if you had a daughter and you went on maternity leave and all that stuff, that you'd lose a lot of the opportunities you were getting because Love Island was so fresh? And obviously, when you had Vienna, Love Island suddenly exploded in season three, really, with Kem and Amber, and suddenly everyone was looking at season one and two again, even though to you that was
hmm
so 2 years ago. I'm a mum now. This is the new tangent I'm about to go on.
Yeah, I feel like when I had Vienna, it was a bit of a shock. So it wasn't like I planned at that point to have a child. It kind of happened. I was in a position where I didn't think that I could have children. I'd had like gynecology appointments and I had like water on my womb or something like that. And it was just one of those things where I was told at the time I needed to come off any kind of like form of contraception, get my body into a natural cycle. And that's how I was. Like I was off contraception completely for about 2 years. And I just assumed that when my time is right in the future, when I decide to have a baby, that it would take me some time to get there, or even IVF. And then Vienna was a complete surprise. Didn't even know if I was ready. Didn't even, we didn't have a place at the time. But Lewis is adopted, so for him, he was like, "This is an absolute blessing." So, like I said, it caught me by surprise. I didn't really think too much into where I was going as a mom or about brand deals. I just kind of had to pivot to navigate the fact that the what I was doing at the time, the influencing that I was kind of doing, the brands I was working with, it was going to pivot slightly because now I was probably going to be wearing maternity things, or doing Pampers ads or things like that instead, which I was okay with. It was difficult because I think for a woman it's difficult to have that transition and a huge change in yourself as it is anyway. But I made it work, and yeah, I was happy doing what I was doing still. It was just a bit of a shock, but yeah, it did grow really big. I think that's how the following started to continue to grow. And Vienna was obviously the first Love Island baby, and people was really interested in that kind of journey. And I think that's why people are still now interested in my journey and my love life, because I think they've seen me go through things not quite work out for me, and be invested in the fact that they know that I do wear my heart on my sleeve and I am a good person. So I think they was pretty invested in getting the right one, basically.
Well, like you said at the top, you are very empathetic as a person. And when you've got
Mm.
a partner who has been in the care system and has all this love to give, but has also seen the love not being given to him and wants to pass it forward, he's got his very own version of what he wants to be as a parent. What about for yourself? How did you want to parent Vienna, being the influencer, being with a partner who had grown up in care, and also someone like yourself who had had a stable upbringing growing up?
I would have liked it to have worked out back then. I think that we both had kind of different views, and I just don't know if Lewis maybe coped as well with the public attention. And, it was kind of, I didn't speak too much about it years ago because it was a lot to deal with at the time, but I was constantly contacted by women. He was a bit of a serial cheat, to say the least. And that wasn't how I started that journey, but I didn't find this information out till I was about 6 weeks off giving birth, which can you imagine was a heavy blow. So it was a shame that that was the route that he went down. And obviously, me being the kind of person I was, I wouldn't stay and play happy families, even if it would serve me publicly better to turn a blind eye to it and be a whole family and move forward. But that's just not me as a person. So when I had Vienna, I kind of knew I was already going to be a single mum as I gave birth anyway, which again was really hard. And I didn't speak about the ins and outs of it publicly too much because it was a really difficult and dark time for me. So I kind of just dealt with it behind closed doors with my family, really.
And obviously now, years and years later, Vienna's starting to get to an age. Obviously, she understands she's got a mum and dad who aren't together, but she'll start
Hmm.
asking questions about why you're not together because in school, most parents are together. Most parents are in a nuclear family. So, how are you
Mm.
going to have those conversations as her mum to kind of go, look, these things happen? And obviously, you've got your way and your view of what happened, but you've also still got to be objective for her sake.
Hmm. Yeah, I mean, she's 8 now. Until she's like a little bit older, she does ask sometimes questions, but it's very kind of mild. Like she still doesn't really know the ins and outs because she's never associated us together since she was born. So we've always been separate, and it's always been mummy here and daddy there. And I've just said like he's mentioned things to her before, and then she's asked me questions like, "Oh, did you used to live together at one point? Why don't you live together now?" And things like that's like awkward conversations to have with a child. But I'll just say, "Oh, we're friends now, but it didn't work out between us, and that's okay." Like sometimes people want different things. Like I wouldn't ever go into the ins and outs until she's old enough to kind of understand the real in depth. I've just said it, you can kind of say it doesn't work out, and we're still friends. So no matter what I've dealt with behind the scenes or with regards to him, like I would never let her feel the full extent of kind of what happened for her to have an opinion on either of us that could be ruin a relationship. You know what I mean?
Well, it's interesting because you'll know this way more than me. I mean, I've not even managed to get a girlfriend yet, let alone have a child. But is she? Thanks. You laugh at my pain, Callie. You laugh at my pain. Is she old enough to Google or to know that mum and dad are on Google, and if you type in a name, it will come up with a load of articles, and she will discover for herself how
Um,
that works?
I think possibly at a point she will. She's not at the point of doing that as such. She has a bit of YouTube Kids, and that's about it. And she has her own little YouTube channel that she wanted me to start when she was younger, where she does makeup and stuff. And she kind of just watches herself or watches videos on my phone. She knows she's the first Love Island baby. She says, "Oh, are you watching Love Island? As the first Love Island baby, wasn't I, mummy?" And I'm like, "You was, darling." So she knows like little things, but and I think this is hard when you're in the public eye to kind of navigate when she is going to be older, what she will see online. So I've always been very careful of what I've said and making sure that there's truth in everything that I say as well. Because at some point she will get old and she will be able to read it for herself. But I think she's still a little way off that. Like she's not allowed a phone at the moment. Even when I said when she does get a phone, she's got to be older than 10, and it won't be a smartphone to start with. So yeah, I think I've got a bit of time still to navigate that.
Well, she's got 2 years to wear you down with pest about to go, no, I need an iPhone. What do you mean that you want me to have a
Honestly,
Nokia?
she doesn't stop about it now. She keeps asking for my old phone, and I've just said like absolutely not. Like the way the world's going, it's just getting even worse. I'd rather be, I still let her record her like little videos, and she sometimes wants to do like an outfit haul or a makeup haul, or sometimes I just have it on my phone, and sometimes she wants to put it on her page or a little YouTube, and I'm fine with that because it's still allowing her to be creative, and she's wanting to do that, but it's not like so regular as the kind of content that I do. It's just as and when she decides she wants to do it. But obviously, she sees me doing it, so she kind of is picking up on what I'm doing and thinking about what she wants to do. And it changes from one day to the next. One minute she's a vet, and the next minute she wants to be an actress, and she wants to practice her expressions. And she's quite creative like that. So I think she'll be in the way of social media at some point when she gets a bit bigger, whether that's doing influencing or acting or singing. She's quite outgoing in that sense, and she's not that shy of attention. So yeah, I think we'll hold off the social as long as possible.
Just go into Snake. Just say, look, you can be creative with Snake. You need to get the little box in the middle and move around, and you don't want the snake to get to you. Ah, um,
Yeah, no, I doubt that would do anything at the moment. She's too busy with her. She watches YouTube families and like people doing pranks and having fun and just really random things like that. But then she loves her Disney as well. So
let's talk
yeah, Disney's
about
better.
social media and the impact it's had
Yeah.
on you in more recent times. And a bit more of an adult
Hmm.
conversation is obviously with AI and the increase in AI, there are deepfake nudes that have been done. And one of
Hmm.
the deepfake nudes were of you. And
Hmm.
this went out, and it's a double-edged sword because there's the one thing that it's out there, and the other thing is to create an awareness that's out there. And you've created an awareness and that it's out there, more people are going to look for it. Or
Hmm.
you go, right, I'm going to speak about it. What was your experience of speaking out about it? And did it do you more harm than good? Was ignorance bliss? Or was it better to stay silent and hope that it will just go away?
For me, I kind of took to social media when I first found it out of panic, really, to just say like, because I didn't know who'd seen it. I was like, oh my God, has this been circulating? And people think that this is generally me. So I kind of jumped on the defense straight away and posted about it. And that's when I got like a lot of messages from a lot of girls saying, "Oh, this has happened to me. This happened to me on my 16th birthday. This happened to me with this." I got a family member saying, "Oh, like we've lost a family member because they took their own life because it was sent around school as a bullying tactic." I didn't expect that response. I kind of, when I first took to social media, I kind of laughed about it. I was a bit like, I was shocked. So I was a bit more, oh my God, like this has just happened. Like, what the hell? How weird is this? Like, it was more casual. And then I started to realize, actually, this is really bad. Like, the impacts of it. I kind of looked through the site of that was hosting the picture, and that people had to create profiles to be able to do this. And they could put pictures of anybody in there and like strip their clothes. And then I thought, this is actually really dangerous, and because people said that, it's been used as bullying tactics and things like that, that's when I started to think, okay, this is a big deal. And I think it took a couple of days of kind of like the defensive shock to then be like, actually, I need to try and do something about this, because people was asking me to. There was like, I'm sorry that it's happened to you, but please will you do something, because no one's getting anywhere. And it was a lot of messages that I was inundated with. So I thought I need to do something, just started speaking up on it. And then Glamour got in touch, and they was running a campaign at the time about trying to make it illegal for the deepfakes. And that's when I was like, yeah, like 100% want to get involved. Went to Parliament with them, spoke to like the likes of Ofcom and Google about like the damaging effects that this is having, because there was no area of, okay, this is where it's breaking the law. It was a very grey area, and being in contact with the police is kind of like, oh, we can't really do anything about it. And I was a bit like, well, can't you track an IP address? Can't you see who's made this profile and done it? And they're like, oh, it's been hosted on a global site, so we can't really do that. And, I kind of was like, well, I know whose phone it's come from. Can you not go and speak to them and see where they've got it from? And they was like, no, we can't really do that. And it just seemed a little bit like, I felt unjustified. So I thought, God, like, and I'm handling it okay. What about those, people that have been bullied, or somebody that's lost their life and they haven't been able to get justice for that situation? So it kind of then become more about that and less about kind of what happened to me. I was more just thinking I needed to be the voice for the other people that didn't have the platforms to be able to speak about it. So yeah, that was my main thing, but it wasn't easy. I had like moments of crying a lot to like my partner, and more just like angry that I felt like someone was trying to do anything and everything they could to make me look stupid or damage my reputation or embarrass me and humiliate me. And I felt like it was kind of that attack, and I was never going to be able to fully prove. But I thought, if I can change the law for people in the future, people like my daughter would be protected from this kind of technology, or hopefully.
Well, look, it's horrific what's happened to you, and I hope even in this conversation you've raised awareness that people are going to think again about accessing it, seeing it, doing anything,
Mm.
and hopefully little by little we'll make a change. Let's finally talk happy things. You mentioned your partner, and
Mm-hmm.
he proposed to you last year, which
You
means
did.
when you get proposed to, there's a wedding, and the
Yeah.
wedding is when?
It's next June.
Oh, so we've got
Next
another year. It's not
year.
this year.
It's not this year, it's next June, because it's just, we're having it in Ibiza, where we very first met. And I think it's one of those things where you kind of have to keep flying over to do like your food tasting and things like that. So it's not as easy to plan as quick as it would be if it was in the UK, I think. So yeah, we pushed it back a year just so we had a bit more time.
So with that extra time, what are you going to do to make it the best standout wedding of 2026? What can your guests and me for having you on the podcast expect from the wedding?
Do you know what? To be fair, I used to, when I was younger, I'd be one of these people that's like, oh, when I get married, I want to have like an ice sculpture. I want to have this and that. And it's turned out that it's really not come down to that. I feel like it's going to be in a nice Spanish villa. It's going to be close friends and family, about 70, 80 people. Just gorgeous settings. There's not too much going on with decor because there's a lot of like olive trees, lemon trees. It's just beautiful grounds. And I think I didn't go out there and expect to find something like that. I thought it'd be kind of quite aesthetic, and it's aesthetic in a more Spanish and beautiful way, which means it actually needs more stripping back to just have like the beauty of the space around it. So I don't think there's anything that I'm like, I want it to be this big extravagant thing. I just want it to be intimate and beautiful, and everyone have a lovely time and gorgeous sunsets. We're going to have Spanish tapas. We're going to have sangria. I want like the little bongo drums and the cowbell and things like that for the night do. So whereas once I would have thought, like I said, the ice sculpture or something like this big extravagant thing, it's not actually turned out like that. And it's turned out that we both just want like our good friends and family around us with just a nice intimate night. So I'd say I'm not like comparing to anybody. I'm not trying to upscale on anybody. I just want it to be beautiful and memorable to us. And God, it costs a bomb. So I can understand where people, at this point, sometimes I think, God, I wish we just went off to his dad's in Barbados and had a nice quiet 10 people on the beach wedding, come back and had a bath because yeah, it's difficult and there's a lot of financial pressure on everybody. So it always turns out to be more expensive than what you originally plan. So I'm hoping that it's going to be worth it for the friends and family around and just be a lovely memory because at the end of the day, I have to keep thinking in that sense that even though it's cost a bomb, it's going to be beautiful and it's going to be a memory. And I'm only getting married once, hopefully.
But also, I think it's that thing as well. Like
Fingers
you
crossed.
say, you've done it in another country, and you're
Mm.
only having 70 to 80 people, which means there's less pressure on you to have loads of celebrities, loads of influencers, and to really do like we're
Yeah,
going
none
to
of
do a
that.
hello shoot. You know, it's going to be very much you, and the love is what's most important, not showcasing we're here with the ice sculpture, and can you have all the papers pick up on that?
Yeah. I mean, I'm sure we'll get some gorgeous content and things like that anyway, because we'll have photographers and videographers and stuff there just capturing the moments for us and our friends and family and things like that anyway. So it'll be how kind of we want to do it, but yeah, not for oh look what we've got and we've done this at our wedding and this is lavish because like money means nothing and I've like learned that massively growing up. Like it's really means nothing on the grand scheme of things. Like your happiness is everything and the people in your life are everything. So I think just having those people around me and marrying DJ, I don't really need a lot there, to be honest.
Well, Callie, I can't thank you enough. I hope that I get the wedding invite, and I hope you'll come back on Skinny and Skin next year after the wedding to talk
I
about what
will,
happiness really
100%.
means to you. You've been watching or listening to Skin and Skin with me, Johnny. So if you've enjoyed today's episode and you love Love Island like I do, there are over 100 Love Islanders in the library now. Go and check out their episodes, including Blue Checkini from this series, talking about his mental health journey. They're all there in the library, ready for you to watch. On social media, you can see clips. You can follow me at Johnny Seifert at Skinny and Skin Podcast on Instagram. Over on TikTok at Johnny Seifert 92 is where you can find me. Callie, where can people find you?
Miss Cally Jane on social media.
Easy as that. You've been watching or
Easy as
listening
that.
to Suka and Insecure with me, Johnny Seifert. Thanks so much for watching or listening. Until next time, thank
Thank
you and
you.
goodbye.